Good morning, good afternoon, or whatever time it is for you. My name is Jordan King. I'm with Team 4. We did exercise routes for UCA, and this is our project video for our lessons learned, and we've got some deliverables to show today. This is our summary dashboard that we created at the end of our project. On the left in the graph, we have minutes for each route, and while we were walking in all trails, it actually tracks the time we spent walking in the application, and we went from not knowing the time or the mileage to knowing the time and the mileage. And here we have the minutes it takes to walk so people can slowly try to figure out where they're going to be, how long it's going to take them to complete each route. And once we got it all down, the routes took about 15 to anywhere to an hour, depending on the rate at which you were walking. We walked at a pretty average pace on both, and the expert and intermediate routes and the novice route will all be shorter if you decide to run that route rather than walk it. We were just focused on solely mapping, so that's why why it took so long for us. On the right, you can see our time spent on the entire project. We spent about 60% of our time planning. This was from speaking with stakeholders, talking to the athletic director, speaking with our sponsor, the manager of the Hyper, and just taking everything and breaking it down so that we know exactly what we need to do, where we want to walk, the things we want to see, and where it should start and end, things like that. Only about 40% of the whole project was actually walking the routes and finalizing the project. We spent very little time walking. Walking actually would have been a shorter amount, but we did have to go back and rewalk some of the routes to get those fixed to our sponsor's liking. This is our first deliverable. This is the novice route. This is for beginners, so you can walk it or run it, whichever one makes you feel more comfortable. It's close to half a mile, and it's a scenic area. It goes from the nature reserve behind the Hyper Center, around beside the parking lot, down a sidewalk, and back to the front of the Hyper. So you can also use this to do a short cardio session before your workout, if that's what you please. This is our second deliverable. This is the intermediate route. It's for people who are a little bit more advanced, but maybe don't want to spend a lot more time running. This one also goes through the nature reserve, but it actually goes a little bit farther around, makes a loop, and goes around the beach volleyball courts, and then back to the Hyper. This one's about 1 mile. You're gonna get a good cardio session, and you'll be able to say that you completed something. This is our final deliverable, and this is our expert route. So this one is for people who have regular exercise experience and are used to training. There are concrete, there is asphalt, and there is road-like surfaces that you will experience on this route. So keep that in mind with shin splints and things like that. This is over 2 miles in length, and it is a loop. There's a turnaround after the Dave Ward Bridge. And this is a scenic route. This one actually goes around the campus, and you get to see the business building, you get to see the auditorium, and you actually go through campus, down the creek, following the creek, and then over the Dave Ward Bridge, which is an amazing sight and very scenic. And then you turn around and go back down Salem, and it is a nice experience. I hope that if you are into that kind of running or even just a nice long walk, please check this one out. We experienced some negative lessons during this project, to say the least. One of them was to avoid getting overzealous on finishing a project. We were certain that our routes were good, but our sponsor sent back feedback that said, this isn't perfect, let's switch this up. And so we went back, we assessed the situation, we rewalked the trail, and it was approved. So just stay calm if something like this is to happen to you. Listen to the feedback and make sure that you make the changes to the customer's request. If you do that, you'll be fine. Evaluate the time for software to update. We actually used an app called All Trails, and this had a upload time where it had to be approved to get on the application so that everyone could see it, so that it was a public substance. So before, in your planning stage, if you can, go back, look at everything that you're going to use deeply. Know it in and out. Do some test runs on the things you're going to do. Small scale, but do something. Get familiar and gain that knowledge about what you're using. Personal emergencies. So this one I personally experienced. I had a family emergency during our project. I was originally the project manager, but something very serious came up and I had to take a couple weeks of just personal time. So if this happens to you, make sure to be open and honest and let everyone know what is going on. Be transparent. They will appreciate it. If you are the person that is hearing this from the person, cater to them. Understand that this is a very serious time in their life and they may need to take away time from the project. If this is the case, let them have it. They'll come back stronger and better for it. On to a better note, some positive lessons that we learned during this project were to keep project motivation. Stay motivated all the way through to the end of the project. Stick to the project's file planning phase and stay on track. If you do those things, your project may not end on time, maybe not the exact time you expected, but you won't lose enthusiasm if you keep up with the things that you're trying to keep up with and you make sure that you're doing it in the way that you enjoy doing it as well. If you're doing any physical or exercise-based projects, make sure to include the athletic director. At least talk to their advisor or their assistant, whatever you have to do. Make sure to include them if they are familiar with what you're working on. Most of the time, the athletic director will have insight or at least know someone who is affiliated with that. So contact them and get a meeting either with them or with someone they know. The most important thing for our team, I believe, was recognizing skills and abilities of the team members. Every team has strengths and weaknesses. Playing to those is going to impact the project, your team, and the relationships thereof greatly. After you recognize those strengths and abilities, capitalize on them. Take everything that you know about that person, put it into a great pot, and push them forward. If you recognize those strengths of the team and maximize it, you'll be able to maximize efficiency and effectiveness. So take that time to get to know your team members. Do things with them, talk with them, see what they like, what they dislike, find things they want to do so that they'll do them great. If you do those things, you will be successful. With that, that's Team 4's project. It is completed, and I just want to say thank you so much for listening this all the way to the end, and I hope you have a wonderful day.